Hi everyone, welcome to this GCSE High Revision video. There's 44 days to go into your GCSE Maths exam, so keep up the hard work, you're doing really well. And today, rather than focus on an individual topic, what I've done is I've actually created a practice paper. So this practice paper has got loads of questions on various topics, lots of the ones we've covered so far. And the purpose of this practice paper is to give you a chance to practice the skills you've learned in these videos, but also with 44 days to go, be able to identify what topics you're good at, so fantastic, and what topics you need to do a bit of work on, so that whenever you go through the practice paper and go through the answers, you'll be able to spot, okay, I need to do a bit of extra work on vectors, I need to do a bit of extra work on Pythagoras' theorem, and so on. So the purpose of this practice paper is to give you an idea of what topics you're strong at and which topics you need to do a bit of extra work on. So I'll put a link to it in the description below, so go to the description below and click the link to the practice paper, print it off, and try that paper. Now, what I've also done is I've also created hints. So the rest of this video will be me giving you hints in each question. Ideally, you're going to be able to do every question yourself, just go through and do it and get them all right. Fantastic. But there might be some that you struggle with or something you might need a bit of a hint on. So what I've done is today, there's going to be hints in each question. So for instance, if question number 13 is causing you a bit of a problem, watch the hint. So go scroll down to the below in the description and you'll see question 13 in the timestamp. You can click that and then I'll give you a bit of a hint on that question. And then tomorrow I'll go through the full solutions and I'll go through the answers to them. And that's it. So let's get started. Hi, there's 44 days to go into your GCSE Maths exam, and today we're going to be going through hints to the 100 days to go GCSE High Revision questions, part 1. So this is a collection of, I think, about 32 questions, 33 questions that go through topics that we've covered so far in the 100 days to go's videos. And this is part 1. Part 2, I think, is with 22 days to go, and part 3 will be with 10 days to go. So they're the booklets of revision questions that we're going to be going through, covering the topics covered in the 100 days to go videos. So in this video, we're going to give you some hints to each of the questions, because obviously today you're going to print that booklet and try, but if you need a hint in any particular question, just go to the timestamps in the description below and jump straight to the part of this video where I go through hints to that particular question, and tomorrow we'll go through the full solutions. Okay, question number 1. Question number 1 says write 80 as a product of its prime factors. See if you need any extra help on this topic. If you go to 89 days to go, 89 days to go, 89 days to go, that's the video on product of primes in LCM and HCF and so on. But if you need a wee hint just to get you going, just remember your prime factor tree. So do your prime factor tree, and if there's any prime numbers, circle it, and if not, just carry on. So that'd be question number 1. So that's your wee hint, and tomorrow we'll go through the full solution to that question. Okay, question number 2. So question number 2, we've got a rectangle, and we've got its length and its width. Its length is 2x plus 1 centimeters, and its width is x minus 3 centimeters. And you've been asked to form an expression in terms of the area of the rectangle. So if you need any extra help with this topic, if you go to 69 days to go, 69 days to go, there's the video on expanding brackets, and this is an expand in two brackets question. So you've got obviously the length multiplied by the width. So if you write those as brackets and expand them, that'll be your expression for the area of the rectangle. So that's your hint for this question. Okay, question number 3. So question number 3 says shown as a right angle triangle. So we've got this right angle triangle, and we've got the base of it is 12 centimeters. We've got the diagonal, or the hypotenuse, the longest side is 15 centimeters, and we've been asked to work out the perimeter of the triangle. That's a right angle triangle, and it's a calculator question. We've been asked to work out the perimeter of the triangle. Now in terms of this question, this is a Pythagoras question, because we'll use Pythagoras' theorem to find the height of the triangle. Then once we find the height, we can find the perimeter. And if you need any extra help on Pythagoras, if you go to 98 days to go, 98 days to go, there's a video on Pythagoras' theorem, and that'll help you go through this topic. But if you use Pythagoras' theorem, you can find the height of the triangle and then add up the lengths, and that'll give you the perimeter of the triangle. Okay, let's have a look at our next question. So question number 4, we've got these two parallel lines, A and B, and we're told that the line A passes through the point 0, 11, and the line B has equation y equals 2x plus 5, and we've been asked to find the equation of line A. So if you need an extra help on this topic, it's parallel lines, and if you go to the video on 63 days to go, 63 days to go, there's a video going through parallel lines. But if you need any extra help with this, just remember if it's the equation of line A, it's going to be in the form y equals mx plus c. You need to find its gradient and its y-intercept. Well, if it's parallel to line B, well, that'll help us find the gradient, because if they're parallel, they're going to have the same gradient. And in terms of its y-intercept, well, for line A, we know it crosses the y-axis, so that's a wee hint to get you going on that one. Okay, question number 5. Question number 5, it's a combined mean question. We've got 10 girls and 15 boys. This is a test. The mean mark for the boys is 76. The mean mark for the girls is 88. And we've been asked to work out the mean mark for the whole class of these 25 students. So it's a combined mean question. If you need an extra help on the combined mean, if you go to 82 days to go, 82 days to go, that covers the combined mean. But if you need a bit of a hint just to get you going, what I would do is I would try to find the grand total for the boys and the grand total for the girls. Because there's 15 boys boys, and their mean mark is 76. So if we take the 76 and multiply by 15, that'll give us the grand total for the boys. Then think how you're going to get the grand total for the girls. Then think how you'd find the grand total for the class. And then think in terms of the class, if there's how many students there are, then how you could find the mean for the class. So that's our hint for question number 5. Okay, question number 6. Okay, question number 6. So question 6a says express root 50 in its simplest form. And then part B says arrange the following numbers in order, starting from the smallest and going to the largest. So this is a surds question. If you need any extra help on surds, if you go to 47 days to go, 47 days to go, that goes through surds in a lot more detail. But if you need a wee hint with this question, remember to simplify a surd, you think of what's the largest square number that's a factor of 50. So think what the largest square number is that's a factor of 50, and then you'll have root that multiplied by root something else to give you root 50. You can then square root the square number, and then that'll help you simplify that surd. Okay, part B. Part B, this question is actually quite interesting because what we've got here is we've got 4 surds and we've been asked to write them in order from smallest to largest. Now actually, whenever you simplify this root 50, you'll actually find one of these is your answer to part A. So one of these is going to be root 50. And then what would be really useful is if you could actually convert the other ones. So for instance, I'm going to let you know that this one here is not root 50. But in terms of this this number here, this surd, 4 root 3, if we wanted to find out what surd that would be, well, we've got 4 multiplied by root 3. So 4 multiplied by root 3. Now obviously if we square 4, that's 16. So 4 is the same as root 16 because obviously the square root of 16 is 4. So instead of writing 4 multiplied by root 3, we could write root 16 multiplied by root 3. And then we could combine that as a single surd. So that'd be root 48. So that means this would be root 48. Now if you do the same thing for the other ones, then you'll have roots, one of them's going to be root 50, one of them's going to be root 48, and then find the other ones and then put them in order. So in this one you're working backwards, you're unsimplifying it. Obviously this is them simplified, so you're going to take the 4, you're going to square it to get 16, so it'll be root 16 multiplied by root 3, and then you can multiply them together to get root 48. So you're going to work backwards in this question and find out what the surds would have been and then put them in order. Okay, let's have a look at question number 7. Okay, question number 7, I like these questions, is expand in 3 brackets. We've been asked to expand and simplify 2x plus 1, x plus 3, and x minus 5. So if you want extra help on this topic, if we go to 69 days to go, 69 days to go, that video will go through expand in 3 brackets. In terms of a hint, what I would say is expand the first 2 and simplify it, and then get that answer, and then just multiply it by the last bracket, and then again simplify it, and then that should give you your answer. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 8. Okay, so question number 8. So question number 8 is based on indices. We've been asked to work out 36 to the power of a half, 27 to the power of negative 2/3, and also we've been asked to simplify 16x to the power of 6, all to the power of 3 over 2. Now in terms of these questions, if you watch 84 days to go, so 84 days to go, that video will go through indices, so it'll go through your fractional and your negative indices and also simplifying things such as this. So that'll be a really useful video for you, so I'll give you a bit more help on these. In terms of a quick hint, remember in terms of power of a half, to the power of a half means you square root something. If it's the power of a third, you cube root it and so on. So that might give you a bit of a hint for this one. In terms of this one, we've got a negative power, so I would write 1 over 27 to the power of 2/3. Then I would work out what 27 to the power of 2/3 is, and then you're going to have 1 over that, and that'll be your answer. And then in terms of this one, I would start off with the 16 and I would work out 16 to the power of 3 over 2. So remember, to work out something to the power of 3 over 2, you square root it and then cube it, and that'll tell you what 16 to the power of 3 over 2 is. So that'll be your number in the front of the x. And then in terms of the x, we've got a power of a power here, so you can just multiply these powers together and that'll give you the power for the x. So that's a bit of a hint for those questions. Okay, question number 9. So question number 9, Orla's got 6 black socks, 3 white socks and 2 blue socks. And she's going to pick 2 socks at random without replacement. So she's going to take out a sock and then she's going to take out another sock and without putting the first sock back in. And the question is calculate the probability she chooses 2 socks of the same colour. So in terms of this question, if you need a hint on it, 73 days to go, 73 days to go. Covers conditional probability. So this is conditional probability. And in terms of conditional probability, if you need any extra help, watch this video, 73 days to go. So in terms of this question, in terms of a hint, what I would do is I would work out the probability of a black sock and a black sock, a white sock and a white sock, and a blue sock and a blue sock. So to get those 3 probabilities, and remember whenever it's a black sock and a black sock, you find the probability of the first one being black. You find the probability of then the second one being black, and then you multiply them together and that'll give you the probability of a black sock and a black sock. Then you would do the same thing for a white sock and a white sock, and also the same thing for a blue sock and a blue sock. And then once you have the probability of 2 black socks, 2 white socks and 2 blue socks, then add them together and that'll be the probability that she chooses 2 socks of the same colour. So that's the hint for that question. Okay, question number 10. Okay, question number 10. So question number 10, we've got this straight line that passes through the points A and B. And we've been asked to find the equation of the line that's perpendicular to AB. So whereas this is perpendicular lines and passes through the point B. So it's perpendicular lines. And if you need an extra help on perpendicular lines, if you watch the video 62 days to go, so 62 days to go, that covers perpendicular lines. But in terms of this question, what I would do is, if you need a bit of a help on this one now, what I would do is I'd work out the gradient of the line passing through AB. And remember your little right angle triangles. So consider your rise and your run, so your rise and your run, and work out the gradient by doing rise divided by run to get the gradient of the line AB. And then remember, if the line's perpendicular, the gradient that's perpendicular to AB, the gradient of it will be the negative reciprocal of that. So find the gradient of AB, the line passing through AB, and then find the negative reciprocal of that, and then that'll be the gradient of the line perpendicular to this line. And then once you find its gradient, you can use y equals mx plus c. You'll find the gradient of the perpendicular line, so that'll be y equals something x plus c, and then you can substitute in the point B. So remember, in terms of B, you've got your x coordinate and your y coordinate. You can substitute those into this equation, and then you can find your c, and that'll give you the equation of the line that's perpendicular to AB and then passes through the point B. Okay, question number 11. Question number 11 is a standard form question, and if you watch the video 83 days to go, 83 days to go, that'll be a bit of a hint on standard form. In terms of question number 11a, well, we've just been asked to write this in standard form. So remember, it's a number between 1 and 10. So for this number, you're going to choose a number between 1 and 10. So I think 5.18 would be a good choice, and it's going to be times 10 to a certain power. And that's a bit of a hint there. Hopefully with that bit of information, you can figure out what the power would be, and obviously check back tomorrow and make sure you've got the right answer. And then part B, we've been asked to calculate this. Now it's a calculator question, so you can just type this into your calculator and make sure that whenever you get your answer, it's in standard form, and then just write it down. Okay, so question number 12, it's a Venn diagrams question. So if you need any extra help on Venn diagrams, 71 days to go, 71 days to go, goes through Venn diagrams. So that'll be a useful video for you. So in terms of this question, the first thing I would do is I'd look at this universal set and it says multiples of 3 between 1 and 29. So I would list the multiples of 3 between 1 and 29, so all of those numbers. And then obviously we've been told some information that A is a set 3, 9, 21, 27, B is 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15, and C is 6, 9, 15, 18, and 21. So what I would do is, first of all, I'd look for any numbers that are in the middle, so in all three sets, and then I'd put those in to begin with. Then I would see in here any that are in just A and B, here any that are in A and C, here any that are in B and C, any that are just A, any that are just B, any that are in just C, and any that are in our list that actually aren't here, so any that would be outside. So I would then fill in the Venn diagram that way. Okay, and then part B. Part B says the numbers chosen at random from the universal set. So you could go back up and look at your list and see how many numbers there are. So that'll be obviously your denominator. And then in terms of the numerator, we want to find the probability if A intersects C. So we need to see how many would be in A intersects C. So in other words, this region here. So if you see how many numbers are in that region, and then you'll know the total, then you can find the probability. Okay, question number 13. Question number 13 is on error interval. So if you need any extra help on error intervals, if you go to 49 days to go, so 49 days to go, that's the video on error intervals. And in terms of this question, if you need a hint, so Yvonne's rounds the number y, so she's got a particular number y, she rounds it to one decimal place. And her result is 8.4, and you've been asked to write down an error interval for y. So think what the lowest possible number would be that would round up to 8.4 to one decimal place. And then think of what's the upper bound, so in other words, the certain number that all the numbers below that would round down to 8.4, and then write that as an error interval. Okay, next, question number 14. Okay, let's have a look at question number 14. So this is on the product rule for counting. And if you go to 48 days to go, 48 days to go, that's the video on product rule for counting. Okay, so in terms of this question, we're told that Bethan owns 6 shops and 3 restaurants. So she owns 9 businesses, and she's going to visit 3 of her businesses, and she writes her list in order. So she's going to write a list of order in terms of which one she's going to visit. And the order will either be a shop, a restaurant, and a shop, or a restaurant, a shop, and a restaurant. And we've been asked to find how many different lists Bethan can write. So I'm going to give you a bit of a hint in terms of shop, restaurant, and shop, and then you can then consider restaurant, shop, restaurant, and then add them together to see how many total lists you can find. So in terms of the shop, restaurant, and shop, she owns 6 shops, so she got a choice of 6 shops to begin with. Then she's going to visit a restaurant, so she's got 3 restaurants, so there's a choice of 3 restaurants next. And then she's going to go and visit another shop. Now she's already visited one of the shops, so then she'd only have a choice of 5 other shops at that point. And then if we wanted to find how many possible lists she could write here, if we multiply those together using the product rule for counting, that'll tell us how many lists she could write, which would be a shop, a restaurant, and a shop. Now you can then figure out how many then there would be for restaurant, shop, and restaurant, and then add them together to find how many different lists she could write. Okay, question number 15.
Okay, question number 15. So question number 15, it's on the equation of a circle and the circumference of a circle. So in terms of the equation of a circle, if you need any extra help on that, if you go to 61 days to go, 61 days to go, that's the video on equation of a circle. If you watch the video 92 days to go, 92 days to go, that covers circumference and arc length and things like that. So in terms of this question, they're the videos you should watch if you need any extra help on those topics. In terms of this question, if you need a bit of a hint, remember the equation of a circle is in the form x squared plus y squared equals the radius squared. So this is the radius squared. So then hopefully you can work out the radius, then work out the circumference of the circle. Okay, let's have a look at our next question. Okay, question number 16. This is on tree diagrams. So if you need any extra help on tree diagrams, if you go to the video 74 days to go, 74 days to go, that's the video on tree diagrams. In terms of this question, if you need any extra help on it, so I would just label the branches. So in terms of the final exam, we know the probability of passing is 0.6, so we can then find the probability of failing. And then likewise for the reset, we're told the probability of passing, so we can then find the probability of failing. And then the question says, complete the tree diagram, so that's part A. Okay, and then our next part says, if a student passes the final exam, or the retake, they receive a certificate. So in other words, if they're here or here, they get a certificate. And we've been asked to find the probability that the student receives a certificate. So what I would do is, well, this one, we know the probability straight away of this option, this outcome. In terms of this outcome here, a fail and then a pass, well, we can multiply the probabilities along the branches. So that probability times that probability, and we get the probability then of a fail and a pass. And then if we want to find the probability of this option, this outcome or this outcome, we can add those two probabilities together. Alternatively, you could find the probability of a fail and a fail, and that gives you the probability that someone doesn't get a certificate, and then you can take that away from one, so either one of those options would work. Okay, question number 17. So question number 17 is a rotations question. So if you watch the video, 95 days to go, 95 days to go, that covers rotations. In this question, if you need any extra help, it says rotate triangle G anti-clockwise about the point -1, -2. So I would just plot that center of rotation there. I would get my tracing paper and put it on top of the shape. I would then trace on top of the triangle and there. And it says rotate 90 degrees anti-clockwise. So I'd put my pencil on top of the tracing paper, on top of the center of rotation, and then I would rotate it 90 degrees anti-clockwise, which is that way. So if my paper, for instance, was portrait, I would spin it so then it would be landscape, and then I would just draw where that triangle would be, and that's it. Okay, next. Okay, next, question number 18. So this is a volume question, so volume over frustum. It also has a bit of density involved as well, so I'd recommend watching 58, 57, 56 and 55 days to go. The reason I'm giving you a few of those to watch is that one of them is volume over frustum. I think that's 56 days to go, but also 57 days to go is the volume of a pyramid, which is going to be useful as well. And also I think one of the other videos covers density and masses of objects, solid objects as well. So watching all four of those videos would be quite useful in terms of a bit of a recap for this question. But in this question, if you just need a bit of a hint and you've been asked to find the mass of the frustum, well, what I would do is I would work out the volume of the pyramid, so this whole pyramid. So using the volume of a pyramid is a third the area of the base times the height. So I'd find the area of the base of the pyramid. I know the height of the pyramid because it says the height of the pyramid is 15 centimeters. So if I know the area of the base and I know the height of it, I can then times them together and divide by 3. That'll be the volume of the first pyramid. In terms of pyramid 2, the one that's chopped off the top, I would then want to find the volume of that pyramid. And again, we know this base side length, so we can find the area of the base quite easily. In terms of the height of this one, well, because we can then compare, this has a side length of 12 centimeters. This has a side length of 4 centimeters. So this length is a third of that length. So the height of that pyramid would be a third of the height of that one. So we now know the height of this pyramid. We can then find its volume because we can then find the area of the base and the height of it and find its volume. And you can take the volume of this pyramid away from this one to find the volume of this one. And then in terms of finding the mass of the frustum, well, the mass is equal to density times volume. So once you know the volume, you can just times it by the density to get the mass of it. And then that'll be the mass of that frustum. And that's quite straightforward. Okay, question number 19. So this is the estimated mean. So in terms of this topic, if you need any extra help, if you watch 72 days to go, 72 days to go, that goes through the estimated mean. In terms of the estimated mean, I'm actually just going to move this because it's in our way. 72 days to go. So in terms of the estimated mean, in terms of a hint for this question, remember you want to find the midpoints. So I would probably write a column midpoint or even just write the midpoints beside them here. I would then put on the fx column and multiply the midpoints by the frequencies to get the fx. Add them all up to get the grand total. We're then told how many students there are. You could add these up to see how many students there are, and then just divide that to tell you your estimated mean. Okay, let's look at our next question. So in this question, we're dealing with similar shapes, and we've got ratios involving their surface areas. We're told the volume of the smaller one, and we've been asked to find the volume of the larger one. So if you watch 65 days to go, 65 days to go, That video will actually be really useful because not only does it go through similar shapes, but it also includes some questions on ratios like this one. So that'd be a really useful video for you. Now in terms of this one, what I would do is, if you wanted a bit of a hint in this question, if we know the surface areas, the ratio for the surface areas, you could square root those to get the ratios for the lengths. And then once you square root those to get the ratios for the lengths, you could then cube those to get the ratios for the volume. And then once you know the ratios for the volume and you know the smaller volume, you could then find the larger volume. Okay, so that's my hint for that question. Okay, next question, question number 21. Okay, so question number 21 is on cumulative frequency graphs. And if you watch the video 78 days to go, 78 days to go, that video goes through cumulative frequency. In terms of this question, if you want a bit of a hint on it, question A says find an estimate for the median time taken. Well, altogether there's 40 children, so in terms of the median, so think of the middle of 40, which would be 20, so you're going to go across and down, and then you can read off what the median would be, your estimate. And then part B says estimate how many students took longer than 35 seconds to solve the puzzle. So go 35 up and across. You'll then see how many students then took below 35 seconds, so then you can see how many took longer than 35 seconds. So that's quite a nice question. So cumulative frequency, 78 days to go. Okay, your next question, question number 22. Okay, question number 22. If you need a bit of help on this one, this is a trigonometry question. We've been asked to find the area of the rectangle. So we've got this right angle triangle and we've got the length of the hypotenuse. So what you want to do is you want to find the length of the opposite and the adjacent here. So you're going to use trigonometry, and that is 91 days to go, 91 days to go, 91 days to go. And that video will go through how to do trigonometry questions. So then once you've watched that video, you'll be able to find the length of the opposite, you'll be able to find the length of the adjacent, and then you can multiply them together to find the area of the rectangle. Okay, 23. Okay, question number 23 is on factorizing quadratics and using factorization to solve quadratic equations. If you watch 67 days to go, 67 days to go, that goes through factorizing quadratics such as this. It also goes through how to solve quadratics such as that. So that'll be a really useful video for you. And in terms of factorizing, remember to factorize something like this, you just put your brackets down. You can do 2x in front of one bracket, x in the front of the other one, and then figure out what the numbers would be. Or you've got the split in the middle technique. And again, this video goes through that. So I just highly recommend watching this video if you need a recap on factorizing. Part B, once you've factorized it, then you'll be able to do part B quite nicely, because remember that if it equals 0, that means either bracket equals 0, so then you can find your values for x. Okay, let's look at our next question, question number 24. Okay, question number 24 is changing the subject. So you want to watch 70 days to go. 70 days to go goes through changing the subject. In terms of this question here, if we want to make y the subject, what I would do is, my hint is bring all the y's to one side, bring everything else to the other side, and then factorize it, take the y out, and then divide by whatever's in the bracket, and then it'll just leave you with y equals whatever that is. And then that should hopefully be a bit of a hint for you there and help you answer that question. Alternatively, watch that video. Okay, next, 25. Okay, question number 25. If you need any extra help on this, this is the area of a sector. So watch video 97 days to go, 97 days to go. That video goes through the area of a sector, such as this. But in terms of the area of a sector, if you need any extra help, just remember that you've got beta over 360 multiplied by pi multiplied by the radius squared, or beta over 60 multiplied by pi r squared. So in other words, the fraction of the circle multiplied by the area of the circle. So you've got enough information in terms of this question to be able to work that out, hopefully. And just remember to give your answer to the 2 decimal places. Okay, next, question number 26. Okay, question number 26. So question number 26 is a reverse percentages question. So if you need extra help on this, if you watch 85 days to go, 85 days to go, that goes through reverse percentages. If you need extra help, just a bit of a hint for this question. Well, we know 15% of the bar is protein, and that's equal to 6.6 grams. So you know that 15% is equal to 6.6 grams. So one approach could be to find 1%, and then once you find 1%, to then find 100%. That gives you the total mass of the bar. Alternatively, another way to do it would be to consider the multiplier. If we knew the mass of the bar, that would have been multiplied by 0.15 to find the amount of protein in the bar. So then you could work backwards, and then that'll tell you the total mass of the bar. Okay, question number 27. Okay, question number 27. It's a limits of accuracy question, and actually we covered this recently. We covered it yesterday. So if you watch 45 days to go, 45 days to go, that'll help you with this question in terms of limits of accuracy. If you want a bit of a hint in this question, well, we've got the distance between Leek and Milton is 118 miles to the nearest mile. So I would consider what the lower bound for that distance would be and what the upper bound for that distance would be. We've got the average driving speed is 50 miles per hour to the nearest 10 miles per hour. So think what the lower bound would be and the upper bound would be. Now we've been asked to find the lower bound for the time the journey should take take. So in other words, the lower bound for the time taken, that means it's going to be in the quickest time because it's going to be the shortest amount of time taken. So what we want to do is we want to use the highest speed and the lowest distance, and then whenever we work out time, then that'll help us then find the quickest time, and then just make sure that you give your answer in hours and minutes into the nearest minute. Okay, so have a go at that question. Okay, question number 28 is on drawn histograms. So if you need any extra help on that, if you could look at 76 days to go, 76 days to go, we looked at drawn histograms, and here we've got a table and we've been asked to draw a histogram for this table. So if you need any extra help on this, my quick hint for you is that frequency density is equal to frequency divided by Clark's width. So to find the frequency density, what we plot vertically, we're going to do the frequencies divided by the Clark's width, and then that will give you the frequency densities, and then you can draw the bars and draw your histogram. Alternatively, watch that video. Okay, our next question, question number 29. Okay, question number 29, it's on recurring decimals to fractions. So if you need any extra help on this, if you watch 87 days to go, 87 days to go, that goes through recurring decimals and change them into fractions. If you want a quick hint, well, what you're going to do is you're going to let your x equal 1.05155151 and so on. That's equal to x. I would then find what 10x is, because 10x would be equal to 10.5151 and so on. And then what I would do is I would then try to find another number of x, which would also have the 515151 after the decimal point. And then once you know that, then you can use the 10x and whatever that other one would be to then, subtract them to cancel out what comes after the decimal points. And then you'd find that as a fraction. It'd probably be top heavy, so obviously then write it as a mixed number and cancel it down, and you should find this. Okay, question number 30. Okay, let's have a look at question number 30. So we've got this triangle. It's not a right angle triangle. We've got the length of AB and AC, and we've got the angle between them being 55 degrees, and we've been asked to find the length of BC. Now, in terms of this question, 50 days to go will help you. 50 days to go. And that'll go through this topic. I haven't actually said what topic it is yet because that's actually part of the question. So I want you actually to think about it. If you got two sides and the angle in between them, what rule you might use to find the length of BC. So I'm actually going to just give you that in terms of, think about it. If you've got two lengths of two sides, so if you've got the length of AB and the length of AC and you've got the angle between them, what would you use to find the length of that third side? If you need any extra help on it, watch 50 days to go and that'll go through it in a bit more detail for you. Okay. Actually, just also to let you know, we're going to do a dedicated video closer to the time going through these trigonometry questions using the sine rule, cosine rule, and when to use each one and so on. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 31, and it's on circle theorems. So if you need any extra help on circle theorems, if you watch 93 days to go, 93 days to go, that'll be really useful for you. Okay, and in terms of this question, if you need any extra help finding this angle RPS, what I would say is think of your circle theorems and actually just think if you can use any of them to work out any of the missing angles on this diagram. So for instance, if you got the angle at the center, could you work out the angle at the circumference? If you've got then here, we've got a cyclic quadrilateral, and if you know this angle, could you find the size of this one? And then, once you find those, could you then find the size of that angle? So have a go at that and see if you can figure it out. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 32, and this is on simultaneous equations. And if you need any extra help on simultaneous equations, if you watch 68 days to go, 68 days to go, that's the video tutorial on simultaneous equations. Alternatively, in terms of this question, if you need a bit of a hint, what I would probably do in this question, now it is a calculator question, I would probably want to cancel out the y's. I'd probably multiply the top equation by a certain number and the bottom equation by a certain number so that I get so many y's and minus so many y's, with those being the same. And then I'd add the two equations together so that those y's cancel out, and then I'll find out so many x's equals something, and then I can find x, and once I find x, I then find y. Once I find x and y, I would then use one of the equations, then check your answer. But that's how I would do that question. But 68 days to go would help you in terms of this topic. And then in terms of our last question, it's a compound interest question. So if you watch 86 days to go, 86 days to go, that's the video on compound interest. That'll be a really useful one for you. But if you want a hint in this question, it says how many years will it take for the investment to exceed £8,000? Well, I would use the formula initial multiplied by the multiplier to the power of time. I'd think what the initial is. I'd think what the multiplier would be. So I'd look at this percentage and think what the multiplier would be. So if I was increasing by 5.4%, what would my multiplier be? and then think what it would be. And then in terms of the time, I would then use trial and error. I'd put in different values. I'd try 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, 4 years, and so on, and then find when it would just exceed 8,000, and then that'll tell me how many years it would be. And that's it. And that's it. So these have been the hints to the 100 days to go GCSE higher revision questions part 1. As I said, there will be part 2 and part 3 to come, going through all the topics that we're going through. Hopefully this has been quite useful for you, and tomorrow there'll be the full video solutions, and then after that then we'll carry on going through topics.
And that's it. So today you've been working on a practice paper. Hopefully if you needed any hints, the video may have helped you get a bit of a hint on that topic. And the purpose of this practice paper is to help you identify which topics you're really good at and which topics you need to do a bit of work on. Now in terms of asking, some students might put a comment, what grade, if I got 62% or if I get 92%, what grade would that be? At this point, the purpose of this practice paper is to help you identify what topics you're good at and which topics you need to work at. In terms of knowing grades, in terms of practice papers and stuff like that, the best way to know what grade you might be is to get a past paper. So one of the proper past papers that have happened, do it in exam conditions and time, mark it, and then you can see, in terms of the grade boundaries, what grade you would have got. But in terms of practice papers, the purpose of practice papers are really just to give you some extra practice on all the topics, but also to help you identify which topics you need to work on. And with 44 days to go, you can definitely work on those topics, become really confident on them, and then ace your exam. So see you tomorrow for the answers. Cheers. Bye.